Chapter 11. Red, red, red. As Nightwind stepped through the red door, he found himself in a room that looked almost identical to the room he just came from. Lightmane was right behind him and bumped into him, so they both quickly moved to the side and assisted the others as they came through, so that no one else bumped into each other. This room, unlike the other room they were in, had a ceiling at around 10 feet in height, but there wasn't a hole in the center. But other than that, it was identical to the room they just came from, including the same 8 colored doors on the walls. Lightmane: okay, anyone got any ideas about what's going on? 'Cause I don't. Jack: looking at the door they just came through. So the door we came through is also red. Is the pattern of the colors the same? I don't remember the order. Shinfia: there's no black line between the pink and brown doors or anywhere else. But I think the pattern is the same because pink was number 1, and then it's yellow, green, purple, and red. And the brown door is to the left of the pink one. So I think it's the same. Jack: I'm writing down the order of the colors, so we'll know if that ever changes, though I don't know why it would matter if it does, or what that would even mean. But I think there's no change in the order. Just wish we knew if that meant anything or not. Lightmane: how about we all check for secret doors or compartments or something? Maybe check the floor too. But it looks like we have to walk through a colored door again. Their search found nothing. Phileas: should I roll the die again? Or should we just go back through the red door and see if we're back where we started? Or should we just pick one at random? Jack: random. Cute. I think we should walk back through the red door and see if it takes us back. I'm assuming it will. Latia: well, if it doesn't, then what? Lightmane: then we'll go from there. Let's go. They all held onto the rope again and walked through the red door, which brought them into another room, but this one looked identical to the one they were just in. Tenneth: another empty room? Okay, what in the world is going on here? Jack: the door we just came through is red on this side too, so it looks like that doesn't change. Should I keep a record of each door that we walk through? Lightmane: you might as well. For all we know, there's a pattern that we have to figure out, maybe. That, or everything is random, and none of it means anything. Or what else, I don't know. Jack: okay, red, red. Now where should we go? Want to just keep going through the red door for now? Lightmane: I guess. I wish I knew if it mattered. But unless anyone thinks we should choose a different color for some reason, let's just go back through where we came from and see if it's yet another empty room. Shinfia: maybe it's always empty until you pick a different color? Jack: ooh, interesting idea, Shin. If it's empty again, then we'll choose a different color. How does that sound? Shinfia: I like it. Let's go. Once again, they all grabbed the rope and walked through the red door. This time, as Nightwind came through, he saw a row of coffins lying in the center of the room, which was the same size as the other rooms. Jack: okay, so red, red, red takes us to a room with a bunch of coffins. Nightwind: 12. There's 12 coffins. I just counted them. Jack: 12 coffins. Got it. Well, at least I don't have to map anything. Yet. Tenneth: okay, I assume we're going to open them, yes? So let's all figure out where we should stand, and I'll have my holy symbol ready, in case there's any undead. Shinfia unsheathed her sword, and it glowed red. Guys, look! The sword is glowing red. So red, 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 and now our sword glows red. Any clue what any of this means? Latia: no, but it only glows if there's undead around, right? Shinfia: yes, but I thought it only glowed blue, and only if they're animated, right? I hope it glowing red doesn't mean there are vampires in those coffins. Tenneth: Well, if there are, let's all run through a different door. So what color do we run through if they're vampires? Dama, we should try either the yellow, brown, or green door, since those are the colors of us wood elves, and thus of Shayla. Lightmane, looking at Dama, I now wish we had listened to you and picked one of those colors. Maybe that's how this works, and those are the only 3 colors we should go through. But yes, let's... Lightmane looked at the doors. Let's all run through the green door if they're vampires or some other horror, since the green door is the closest to us of those 3. Nightwind, how about you open one, and if you run, we'll all run. How does that sound? Nightwind, smiling, I promise you that if there are vampires in these coffins, I'll be the first one through the green door. Is everybody ready? Nightwind walked up to the first coffin on his left, while Lightmane, Latia, and Shinfia all formed a semicircle around him, while Jack and Tenneth stood behind them, while Belfin and Phileas went around to the other side. Jack, looking at Dalma, Dalma, why don't you stand near me? If you hear me say the word bye, it means I'm casting invisibility, okay? Dalma, looking a little confused, why would you say bye? Jack, it's my signal, so you know I'm about to disappear. Dalma, still looking confused, why not just say you're casting invisibility? Jack, because saying bye is a lot quicker. So bye, as in I'm going to disappear now. Get it? Dalma, you want me to know that you're going to cast invisibility, so when you disappear, I'll know that you just cast invisibility? Jack, smiling a little, yes. Dalma, Jack, if I ever see you disappear, I'll just assume that you cast invisibility. Jack, not sure what to say now. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, Nightwind, I think we're all ready. Nightwind opened the coffin, and inside was a creature wrapped in white bandages from head to toe. Is this a mummy? Tenneth, it sure looks like it is, but it's not animating, so here's hoping it's just a dead body. How about you put the lid back on and try the next one? Nightwind, why? Tenneth, 'cause what if you end up opening all of them, and there's a mummy in all of them, and they all animate when you open the last one? Nightwind, putting the lid back on the coffin. Oh, good idea. He opened the next one, and there was another mummy inside, but nothing happened. So he closed the lid and opened the next one, and again there was another mummy inside. He closed it and opened the next one, and once again there was a mummy, but this one was different. For around its neck was a beautiful red necklace that had a large red gem on it, and a few of the bandages around its body were red. Nightwind, oh, what's this? What a cool-looking necklace. All of a sudden, Shinfia's sword started to glow brighter, and she could feel it humming. Guys, look, something's happening. As they all glanced at her sword, the mummy sat up and started to get out of its coffin. Most of them still saw the mummy animate, though, and Tenneth immediately tried to turn it, while Shinfia, Belfin, and Phileas all tried to attack it. Dalma was going to cast her Earthbow spell, but there were too many people and only one target, so she waited. The others were all slightly distracted from glancing at the sword, but as they turned and saw it, Latia, along with Belfin and Phileas, all looked horrified and seemed to just freeze. Shinfia's sword cut into it pretty good, but the mummy swung its arm at her and hit her in her side, causing a fair amount of damage. Jack hesitated, wanting to see if Tenneth was able to turn it, and fortunately for him, Tenneth succeeded, and the mummy turned and started moving towards Belfin and Phileas. Tenneth, I turned it! Belfin and Phileas, run over here! But Belfin and Phileas weren't moving, and neither was Latia. They all had a look of horror on their faces. Just then, the 8th coffin's lid came flying off, and another mummy rose out of it. It too wore a red necklace with a red gem, and also had a few red bandages, and it started to move towards the party. Dalma cast her earthbow spell. It fired an arrow, hitting the mummy, but Jack wasn't moving now. Nightwind, Lightmane, and Shinfia all moved to engage it in melee. The dwarf's axe cut into it, as did Lightmane's sword, but their weapons only did a small amount of damage. But the mummy swung at Lightmane and hit him, knocking him back a little, while Shinfia swung her sword. It cut into the mummy good, but it didn't fall. The other mummy walked right past Phileas and Belfin, who still weren't moving. The mummy turned to Shinfia now and swung his arm at her, but she somehow was able to avoid it. Nightwind's axe failed to do any damage this time, and Dalma's arrow from her earthbow also missed, but Lightmane cast Magic Missile, hurting it badly, and once again Shinfia's sword cut into the mummy and it fell. Shinfia and Lightmane and Nightwind all went over to the other mummy, which was now up against the wall, and they all swung their weapons. Somehow, the damage they all caused didn't kill it, and it turned around and attacked back. But Nightwind blocked its attack with his shield, and they all attacked again, and this time it fell. With 4 of them not moving, though, they weren't sure what to do in the moment. Lightmane: how in the world did that thing survive all of us hitting it like that? I think they're all paralyzed, similar to how Nightwind and I were with those gas. Well, here's hoping we just have to wait a bit and it'll wear off. Tenneth: well, I hope you're right, and it does, but I sure am glad we have magic weapons. Yolo's book says normal weapons don't harm mummies, and that magic weapons only hurt them somewhat, similar to how edged weapons don't do a lot of damage to skeletons. But your sword sure cut into it. Good, Shin. Wish we were all immune to damage from normal weapons. Could you imagine if someone had that kind of immunity and went through a village attacking people and nobody could hurt them? That would be terrifying, wouldn't it? Nightwind: that would be more terrifying than I care to think about, but I sure am glad that Bugbear Chieftain had this magic axe. I wonder how he got it, though. Shinfia: he probably killed an adventurer who had it. Hey, I'm feeling a little funny, guys. I'm going to sit down and eat some drana and drink some honeymead while we wait. They waited, and a few minutes later, everyone could move again. Tenneth: how you all doing? Everyone okay? Latia: I still feel scared to death, but other than that, I'm fine. Everyone else all echoed what Latia just said. They still felt shaken and scared, but were really glad they weren't paralyzed anymore. Tenneth, pulling out Yolo's book on the undead. Mummies can cause fear on sight, paralyzing the person with fright. While the paralyzing effect usually only lasts for a few minutes, the effect of scaring the crap out of you can last for a little while longer. Shinfia: scaring the crap out of you? This Yolo guy sounds like a trip. I kind of like the way he writes. All of a sudden, Shinfia started to feel sick. Dalma: you don't look good. Would you like me to try casting Cure Disease on you? Shinfia: no, wait. Maybe it'll pass. Shinfia collapsed, and everyone ran over to her. Tenneth was examining her, and then cast Cure Moderate Wounds on her, which healed some of her wounds fairly well, but she was still unconscious. Latia wanted to help, but she still felt terrified. Dalma: do you want me to try casting Cure Disease on her? Tenneth: sure, go ahead. Mummies can infect people with a rotting disease. Yolo says it can be fatal in 1 to 6 months. So here's hoping that Cure Disease cures diseases inflicted by mummies, because if it doesn't, I don't know what we're going to do. Dalma cast Cure Disease, and Shinfia slowly came around, and a few minutes later, she felt better. Shinfia: thank you, Dalma. I'm sure glad you were able to cast that spell. You'll be able to cast it when you achieve the next progression, right, Tenneth? Tenneth: yep, can't wait. But I feel that's still a ways off. Dalma: I'm glad that my spell was able to heal you, I was able to heal you. Tenneth wasn't sure if it would. I know nothing of this creature, though. You say it's called a mummy? Tenneth: Yes, and we have a book that Phileas bought in a market square that told us all about the undead, and now I'm really glad that you found it. Phileas, so am I. Okay, I'm finally not feeling terrified anymore. How about we open those other coffins? I'm sure nothing else will animate, right? I mean, that second one just broke through its coffin and attacked, so I'm guessing if there's mummies in them, that they're just like the other ones that didn't animate. Latia, I'm finally feeling okay now too. So glad you had that cure disease spell, Dama. Yeah, let's go check out the other coffins, and here's hoping you're right and nothing else animates. The next three coffins all had a mummy inside that didn't animate, and the next three all did too. But when Nightwind opened the last coffin, a very scary looking ghost like image rose up in front of everyone and cried out in a dark, menacing voice, "Welcome, mortals! Welcome to the tomb of the Red Mummy! Welcome to your doom!" The apparition then let out a terrifying and menacing sounding laugh that sounded more like a scream. Immediately, everyone was overcome with great fear that seemed to course through their veins. Everyone was so scared that they all started backing up, except for Shinfia, whose sword was now glowing with a deep, dark blue glow. As that happened, the apparition began turning red and took the form of a very large mummy that stood around 9 feet tall. Around its neck was a blood-red necklace, and on the necklace was a red medallion, and within the medallion was what looked like a card, similar in size to a playing card, and on the card was a picture of a red dragon. Red Mummy, its voice sounding terrifying. "Who dares disturb my sleep?" All of a sudden, Dalma, Nightwind, and Jack all screamed and then turned and ran, while everyone but Shinfia continued to feel great fear course through them. But they all stood near Shinfia now and faced down the giant red mummy. Shinfia, feeling incredible power coming from her sword. "Let's go, Red. I'm feeling lucky today. How about you?" The giant red mummy let out a horrifying scream and came at Shinfia. The blue glow now enveloped Shinfia completely. Tenneth cast Spiritual Hammer. Belfin and Phileas turned around and saw the other three fleeing and started to run with them, but then they stopped, looked at each other, and then turned and headed back around. Lightmane cast Ice Knife, and Latia cast Sunscorch. As Shinfia engaged the red mummy, fire seemed to emanate from its being, enveloping Shinfia within it. The others were terrified as they watched, but kept casting their spells. But Shinfia was now screaming. Tenneth's Spiritual Hammer formed in the air. It then flew at the mummy, but it glanced off of it and then flew back to Tenneth. Latia's Sunscorch spell, though, seemed to damage it somewhat. Lightmane's Ice Knife flew at the mummy. The blue blade cut into it good, and then a blue aura formed from it, which not only did more damage, but the mummy seemed to freeze. The moment it froze, Shinfia's sword whirled around and cut into the mummy, causing it to let out a horrifying wail. But it swung its huge arms, and they slammed into her, damaging her greatly. But somehow the impact of the blow didn't knock her down. Tenneth's hammer flew at it again, and this time it slammed into it, and the giant red mummy screamed again, clearly in great pain. Belfin and Phileas were behind it now, but were about 30 feet from it and were now running at it. Lightmane started to cast Magic Missile, while Latia started to cast her Earthbow spell. But right at that moment, a bright blue beam came from Shinfia's sword and ran through the mummy. It let out one final horrifying screech before falling to the ground. Shinfia, now badly burned, dropped to her knees and then collapsed, dropping her sword. Everyone ran over to her. She was conscious and breathing heavily. They had no clue how she was still alive, seeing how badly burned she was, let alone the damage that was inflicted on her. Shinfia somehow managed to speak. "Heal me. Use every spell you've got." She then fell unconscious. Or was she dead? They couldn't tell. But when Latia checked for a heartbeat, she felt one. Phileas, guys, we need to talk. Latia, she's alive. Not now, Phileas. Quick, Tenneth, help me. Tenneth and Latia applied their healing salves and herbs, and then they cast all of their healing spells. Belfin, guys? All of a sudden, Lightmane felt the urge to place the sword in her hands, so he picked it up and did so. The sword started to glow white now, and the glow slowly moved over Shinfia's entire body. They all watched as all of her wounds slowly disappeared. Shinfia opened her eyes. Latia, you're healed. What in the world just happened? Shinfia, sitting up now. The sword and you two healed me. She then looked around. Where's everybody else? Latia, Lightmane, and Tenneth all started looking around, but Jack, Nightwind, and Dalma were nowhere in sight. Lightmane, hey, where are you guys? Where did you go? Oh no. They didn't. Did they? Belfin, guys, that's what Phileas and I have been trying to tell you. We saw them all run through the green door.